Um, waiting for the
We
Iranian
got
response, and we got it a little bit. And I digested it not the same way the market digested it. So there's
I mean,
that.
we
The
got
market's right.
Nvidia's down 2%, Meta's down 4%. Then we got on the
Oh,
flip
there's
side, it's mixed.
some news. Meta and Google both lost a little lawsuit. Meta's getting
Oh,
shellacked on that.
What was it? It was what? Social media is addicting. Is that what it
Yeah,
was?
that they weren't. I'd have to go
What
and
did
read it. I don't want to misspeak about it, but it was
Gold catching a
along the
bid.
lines of that they had they didn't
Yeah.
foresee or take seriously things like the autoplay and stuff like that, or things that get recommended to you. And it is true to start a new.
What's
And
where are we going?
I'm gig along Google all the time, but
Yeah.
start a fresh account on YouTube. You'll go down some rabbit holes real quick.
Yeah. What?
yes. Yes,
Some
crude's up
they got
72, almost 73 here.
here goes gold. Gold with new session highs.
I know. I was about ready to get long gold. I've been liking longs all week.
We've seen this so many times. Gold's the first to move. Whatever's
Yeah, I mean, look at that. That's
if you know,
beautiful, beautiful
if
setup.
you know,
I've been looking
if you
for
know, you
longs
know
last
types.
night. Yeah, look at it pumping.
New highs gold. Gold with a $20 pop right there. Crude leaning lower. Waiting for the president.
Still just showing some waving flags outside the White House. Nothing on so far.
What time is it supposed to start? Sure, it's
9 a.m.
Central.
Ago.
35 minutes. Yeah. 35 minutes ago.
Okay. All right.
Barcoding here in the equities.
I mean, there's plenty of opportunity in these markets.
There we go.
There we go. All right, let's go live to the president here. Cabinet meeting, seeing some selling here in.
How are you?
He's sitting between Hexeth and Rubio, so presumably the topic du jour will be.
Are you all ready? A lot of media, as usual. So thank you to the incredible members of my cabinet. They're doing a phenomenal job. Everybody pretty much agrees to that, including our newest member, Secretary of Homeland Security, Mark Wayne Mullen. Thank you, Mark. And we all know him very well, and he was a very popular senator, a very effective senator. Effective probably being the more important word. JD, don't you think?
Yes, sir.
And we wish you a lot of luck.
Thank you.
I think you do fantastically well. Congratulations to you. You have an amazing family that were here yesterday in the Oval, sworn in. His family's amazing, so thank you very much. We're now on day 41 of the disgraceful Democrat shutdown of Mark Wayne's department. Congratulations. He came into a department that's shut down by the radical Democrats, right? But Democrats are really punishing the American people. I saw it today on one of the shows where they were interviewing people at the airport, and they're all angry at the Democrats. They're saying they're actually angry at Schumer. I didn't think anyone knew his name. One woman said, that Schumer is disgraceful. He's a disgrace to our country. But they're angry at the Democrats. They know what's happening. But they're punishing the American people, including travelers at airports, all in the quest to return to open borders and give amnesty to illegal alien criminals. They want to give amnesty to some of the criminals that came into our country, just about all of them, actually, if you look at it. They love sanctuary cities, which is a sanctuary for criminals. They want to make sure they're taken care of. That's what we're fighting about. That's really what they're fighting. They don't talk about that, but that's what they're fighting about. They want to protect criminals. In many cases, 11,888 murders. Many of them, I will say, are gone now because of us. We got them out. But still have some left. Should have never happened, should have never been allowed to come into our country. But we're not going to let it happen. We're not going to let the Democrats get away with this stuff, and people are wise to them. So they need to end the shutdown immediately, or we'll have to take some very drastic measures. This morning, I want to give an update on the Operation Epic Fury, which is an appropriate name because we are absolutely obliterating them. Over the past 3 weeks, we've been hitting Iran's military capabilities at a level that few people have ever seen before. People never knew there was such a capability. We have the strongest military anywhere in the world by far. I built it during my first administration, and I used it during my second administration. Unfortunately, because I'd rather not have to use it. But it's a display of force and precision and skill like nothing the world has really witnessed, although you got a pretty good witnessing of it in Venezuela also. And that was a smaller version of what we're doing now. We're crushing their missiles and drone stockpiles, destroying their defense industrial base. We've wiped out their Navy completely, their Air Force completely. We've wiped out a large percentage of their missiles. And the missile launchers, without the launchers, the missiles don't do any good. And we've knocked out probably close to 90% of the launchers, probably more than 90% of the missiles themselves. Between some they fired and more than they fired, we knocked out. We've also destroyed a lot of the factories. We're continuing to do that, but a lot of the factories where they manufacture the drones and the missiles. The drones, too, are way down, but the reason they're down is they go one way and they don't come back, because for the most part, we're shooting them down. But we also are able to, we've really done tremendous damage to the places where they make them. And just so we set the record straight, because I've been watching the Wall Street Journal's fake news and all these stories that get printed like, oh, I want to make a deal. They are begging to make a deal, not me. They're begging to make a deal. And anybody that saw what was happening over there would understand why they want to make a deal. But they say, oh, we're not talking to them. Anybody would know that. And only a total fool. And they're not fools. They're very smart, actually, in a certain way. And they're great negotiators. I say they're lousy fighters, but they're great negotiators. They are begging to work out a deal. I don't know if we'll be able to do that.
We broke out at the bottom of that range in the ES.
They should have done that 4 weeks
Crude's
ago. They should
popping.
have done it 2 years ago. Or they should have done it when we first came into office, because 2 years ago they had free reign under Biden. Sleepy Joe, worst president in the history of our country. What he allowed to happen to our country at the borders.
Crude pops
And even with a thing like this.
93.60.
But not just him. Every president for 47 years, every president should have done this. They should have done it a long time ago, because you cannot give lunatics a nuclear weapon, and they would have had a big one. It stopped really when we did the B-2, but even before that, the Barack Hussein Obama, what he did where he gave them the Iran nuclear deal, gave them free will toward a nuclear weapon. Basically, he chose Iran over Israel and others that didn't want him to do it. But I terminated that deal. Had I not terminated that deal, you would have had a nuclear weapon years ago, and it would have been used, guaranteed. And one of the reasons you know about the guarantee is because their neighbors were sort of like bystanders. They weren't involved very much. They didn't choose heavy sides. They didn't want to, because people were concerned with Iran. There was a big black cloud over the Middle East. They were concerned, but all of a sudden the war starts, and they start shooting at these five, in particular, 5 countries. They start shooting at Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, Oman. They start shooting at them, and everybody was shocked, including us. You know why? Because they're sick, and they had a plan to take over the Middle East. And some of those missiles that were shot at them were locked long before we even started this process. They were locked and loaded and aimed at those countries. They wanted to take over the Middle East, but we happened to come along, so it wasn't so easy. So right now their Navy is sunk in the largest elimination of a foreign Navy that has taken place, maybe ever, but certainly since World War II. Their Air Force is gone. Their anti-aircraft and communications capabilities are totally dismantled. And one of the problems they do have when they deal with us is we deal with people and the people aren't able to communicate with anybody else. So,
I'm selling some of the
because all of
equities
their
there.
leadership has been gone. The first level
Reluctantly.
is gone, and they met to pick a new level, and they're gone. They're all gone because they didn't make a deal and because they're sick people. They're really sick. They're really sinister, sick people. And if anybody thinks it was okay to have a group of people like this to have nuclear capability, nuclear weapons, and if we didn't attack with the B-2 bombers, they would have had a nuclear weapon within 2 weeks of that, maybe 4 weeks. But between 2 and 4 weeks, they were planning to have a nuclear weapon. If we didn't hit them at that time with the B-2 bombers, and one of the great air raids in history, maybe the greatest. Dark at night, no moon, no light. Every single bomb hit its mark and just obliterated that place. So it's now buried deep under earth. And it was an amazing thing, but they would have a nuclear, and they would have used it without question. And you know that because why did they shoot all these countries that weren't even really involved with them? They weren't involved. They had no big problems because they're sick, because they want to take over the Middle East, not just Israel. Certainly Israel would have been the first on their list. They would have used nuclear weapons, a nuclear, you don't need too many of them, but they would have used a nuclear weapon on Israel and they would have used it on the other neighbors. And then they would have come after us. And if we had a weak president, they would have done great damage. But fortunately, you don't have a weak president. I knew what was happening. And I think we've been proven right. You know, they took one missile, it went 2,500 miles. They supposedly didn't have a missile like that. They had no missile with that capability. But they shot the now famous Ireland, the island that the UK was very afraid to give us because they didn't want to get dragged in. But we don't want to get dragged into their wars either. You know, it's one thing we're very disappointed. I'll say it publicly. We're very disappointed with NATO because NATO has done absolutely nothing. And I've always said, 25 years ago, I mean, I was somebody that wasn't a politician, but I was always involved in politics and I understood politics. I said 25 years ago that NATO's a paper tiger, but more importantly, that we'll come to their rescue, but they will never come to ours. And I want you to remember that we said this. They didn't come to our rescue. Now they all want to help. When they're annihilated, the other side is annihilated, they said, we'd love to send ships. They actually made a statement, a couple of them, that we want to get involved when the war's over. No, it's supposed to get involved when the war's beginning, or even before it begins.
See how reluctant it is
the UK say
for the
that
equity to go lower?
we'll send,
We just
this is 3
Yeah.
weeks ago, we'll send our
I think they're
aircraft
just framing
carriers,
this
which aren't
as
the best aircraft carriers.
Slowly.
Like,
They're
this
toys
isn't
compared to what we have.
de-escalatory so far,
we'll
so they're
send our
kind of just
aircraft
testing the
carrier.
waters.
it isn't.
The war's
However,
over. I said, oh, that's
we're seeing
Thank you very much. Don't bother. We don't need it. We
Oil's
don't need it. We don't need them.
popping.
We
We're at
estimated it would
93,
take
70.
approximately 4 to 6 weeks to achieve our
Struggling.
mission.
it's
And,
equity
we're
solid to
way
sell
ahead of
off.
schedule.
And
If you look at
they are going lower, just
what
definitely
we've
not a
done in
straight line.
terms of
So
the
we
destruction
can go
of the
back,
country,
go back to the
we're way
president. I'm sure
ahead.
the questions will be
Think of it, they have
taken,
no
and we might
Navy.
hear some other comments.
And they had good ships, 154
From some of the other
ships have
members
been
of the
shot
cabinet.
down and are resting very nicely at the bottom of the sea. And we did that in a matter of less than a week. Because we have the greatest military in the world by far, nobody even close. So we estimated it would take approximately 4 to 6 weeks to achieve our mission. 26 days in, we're extremely, really a lot ahead of schedule. The Iranian regime is now admitting to itself that they have been decisively defeated. They're saying to people, this is a disaster. They know it. That's why they're talking to us. They wouldn't talk otherwise. But they're talking to us because they've got a disaster in their hands. They're defeated. They can't make a comeback. We're free to roam over their cities and towns and destroy all of their crazy nuclear weapons and missiles and drones that they're building. And we're doing that. They now have a chance to make a deal, but that's up to them. And they'll tell you, we're not negotiating. We will not negotiate. Of course they're negotiating. They've been obliterated. Who wouldn't negotiate? They are begging to make a deal. We'll see if we can make the right deal. And if they make the right deal, then the strait will open up. Hormuz Strait will open up. And even now, we don't know if there are any mines. You know, they have 22 they call mine droppers. Think of it, who would have 22 mine droppers? There's a boat that drops mines. Who has 22 mine droppers? Except for people with very evil intention. So every one of those mine droppers has been struck with the same weapon we used to stop drugs from coming into the United States of America. When we hit those boats, it's the exact same weapon, extremely effective. We have unlimited supplies and extremely effective. But they have no more mine droppers. By the way, speaking of drugs, we're 98% down drugs coming in by water, by the ocean, by the sea.
NQ, more selling
98%. And we're trying to find out who are the
Session
2%.
lows, 30 points
We think
low,
they're the
session lows,
bravest
ES
men
also
anywhere in the
selling
world.
off.
Maybe women. But whoever's
NQ
on
down
those
about
boats is very brave or doesn't
190
watch
points.
television.
190 points since
But
this cabinet meeting began.
Coming in by sea,
So keep it.
coming in by water are 98% down.
I need,
And now
yeah,
we'll stop
I
the
don't know.
drugs coming in by land.
back
The
to
land is the easy one. You had to stop the water. A lot of it came in through the water. Now it's all pinched. And these people are trying to come in by land. And we will, that's it, that's the easy one. But we had to take care of the water first. Nobody's coming in. Virtually nothing is coming in anymore. It was hundreds of millions of dollars a week were coming in by water. But they now have the chance, that is Iran, to permanently abandon their nuclear ambitions and to chart a new path forward. We'll see if they want to do it. If they don't, we're their worst nightmare. In the meantime, we'll just keep blowing them away, unimpeded, unstopped. Well, there's not a thing they can do about it. They can't do anything about it, you know. I tell you, if they could, you'd be hearing about it. You'd be hearing about it. You don't hear anything about it. They can't shoot our jets. We have the best military equipment in the world. No, not even a contest. You see that with Venezuela. They had other equipment. They didn't have ours. It didn't work. Didn't work. Think of it. We did the situation in Venezuela. It was a great military operation, getting a very, very dangerous man who's killed a lot of people, forced people into our country. Incredible. He emptied his prisons in Venezuela, emptied his prisons into our country, and I hope that charge will be brought at some point, because that was a big charge that hasn't been brought yet. It should be brought. He emptied his prisons into our country and was a major purveyor of drugs coming into our country. And he's now been captured and, you know, I guess be given a fair trial. But I would imagine there are other trials coming, because they have they've really sued him just at a fraction of the kind of things that he's done. Other cases are going to be brought, as you probably know. In the meantime, with Iran, we're going to keep doing what we've been doing, and nobody's a match for the United States, but they're not a match for the United States. It's small potatoes. That's why I'm so disappointed in NATO, because this was a test for NATO. This was a test. You can help us. You don't have to, but if you don't if you don't do that, we're going to remember. Just remember this in a number of months from now. Remember my statements. They have an expression, a great expression, never forget. You can never forget. So as we end threats to America abroad, we're focused here at home on building the greatest economy in the history of the world. Now, before this started, the Dow hit 50,000. The S&P hit 7,000. Both of
Talk the
those
market up right now.
Talk the book.
achievements
He's
were
gonna talk about
not achievable. Every one of you, most of you,
He's about to say we're going to go back.
Long
I was about to say we're gonna go back.
pesos.
during a 4-year period, because it was too high a number. Well, we hit it in our first year. And I said, well, now we have to take an excursion to Iran, and we have to stop this maniac who's no longer with us. The supreme leader wasn't so supreme, no longer with us. It's very sad. But we have to stop him from blowing up the world, blowing up the Middle East, and blowing up our country, and we did that. And frankly, I thought the oil prices would go up more, and I thought the stock market would go down more. Hasn't been nearly as severe as I thought. I think they have confidence in maybe the American president and maybe the people sitting around this table. But Americans filing their taxes this year are receiving record-setting refunds. It's been a very big story. Well, it should be a big story. I don't think you read about it that much, but I speak about it.
There's some selling.
We're
I speak
selling.
about
There's
it
some
because if
selling
I speak
from-
about it,
yeah.
those people here, you don't write about it. You don't write about the drug prices going down. It'll be going down 30, 40, 50, 60%,
Closing in on
70%.
session lows. 9
Favorite
points to go.
nations. Call most favored nations. We're going to be
7
paying
points
the
to the
lowest price
IB
anywhere in the
low
world before we paid
in
the
the
highest
ES.
price in the world, Bobby, right? And now we're going to pay the lowest price in the world. That's
Yeah, just
quite
keep
a
it. Yeah,
difference.
keep it that.
It's a
Keep it right
difference
there. That low volume, like just like that, so we can
40
hear in the background. But we also
70
talked
and
to
80,
got
even
Dakota and Jack. That's
90%. That's a
perfect.
pretty big difference.
We're watching crude
But we're
riding
slashing
higher, a
regulations
little
and
bit
investment
closing
is
on
pouring
94
in
bucks.
from all over the world. We have the most
Equities-
investment of any country in history.
Equities are down, pretty much
has
giving
been
up most
put
of
into
the
our country
gains that
in
we
the last
saw.
year. And again, we had to take a little detour.
Yeah,
Won't be
doesn't
long.
sound. What do you call it, Jack?
Soon.
As
We had to take a
escalatory.
little detour.
It's kind of what.
It doesn't sound like this is getting wrapped up for the weekend, right? We had those headlines before about,
Dangerous fire that
you
can
know,
blow up
some conditions from
portions
both
of the world,
sides,
if
but
not the whole
this,
thing.
you know, and I think maybe
So
there was some
tomorrow we'll be
preempting
announcing
that
a
with the
variety
run
of
up here.
actions that we're taking
But
to
now
There's
we're
the
going back
flush.
to where we
New
were.
lows.
Here we
Where'd you
go.
fit?
IB
Never
low.
forget, we love the farm.
24,000
Yes.
maybe.
$12
New
billion
lows,
out
new
of
lows,
tariff
new
money.
lows.
We had Tremendous amount of tariff money come in. And we've
We're
been
watching
over
crude continue to
94.
push higher here,
Supreme Court gave us a
$94.
very
Yeah,
unfortunate,
yeah.
foolish ruling.
$94.16
Ruling
new.
that gives the people that have
Now,
ripped
18
off
cents.
our country
Crude
for many
moving
years
higher here. We
some
saw
money back, but
new lows print in the
it's one of those
equities. In
things.
the
It's a
equities,
terrible
IB low.
horrible mistake they
beneath
made,
there.
but it's okay because we have
50-50
another
tilt.
method that's just as good. We'll use the other method. But because the tariff money has been so substantial, we gave our farmers
bring it
who have
back
been
in.
mistreated by some countries, we gave them $12 billion, and they're extremely happy, and they deserve it. They've been great. They never complained.
And
They just
Meta down
go out
5.5%
and they wouldn't
now.
do anything different. They wouldn't trade
Nvidia down
jobs
3.
with any of you except maybe
Bouncing
some
off
of
the
us.
IB low.
Somehow I
Yeah.
didn't see that. I like
It's
their
about
job
7
better.
points right now.
They do
I
not.
love the
Yeah,
farmers.
it's.
So we gave them $12 billion. So in just a few moments, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent will discuss the actions that we're taking to address energy prices, which have not gone up.
Please,
Ooh.
please
Much
talk
as I
about your
thought.
futures
Ooh,
trades.
ooh. All right, bring that. Yeah, bring that in. Bring that in. All right, Bez is going to be
Maybe
talking
it'll go up
oil
a little
here.
bit more. It's all going to come back down to where it was and probably lower. And my
Buckle up. Here we
predictions
go.
have been right.
Chat,
Trump
for
was
the
right about
economics. It doesn't
everything.
matter
They
who's
have a new
talking.
hat. Trump was right
President,
about
Secretary
everything.
Treasury. It doesn't matter their names. It's just all the names
Pretty right.
interchangeable.
But
Just focus on the
Scott's
economics.
going to address that. And I think before we go very much further, I want to ask Vice President J.D. Vance to say a few words about where we are with the situation he's involved with Steve and with Jared on negotiations. And then some of the others will speak. We'll have Marco say a few words, Pete Hegseth, who was born for this role. I mean, he's doing a great job. They gave him a hard time.
I'm long the
And now
NASDAQ.
people, I'll tell you, somebody came up to
Yeah.
me yesterday and
Nice.
gave you a very hard time, said, you know, I made a mistake.
It's like
Pete
that.
Hegseth is doing a good job. So,
Price Dakota. I
I
like
tell
it.
you who you're not.
I got it at 94.